Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. This is the 250th iteration of the show, 215th. Recorded on the 27th of October, 2016, and I am Josh Trelevin, and I bring you my very good friend, as I always do.
Halloween well-wisher, Ryan Kirkby. I know it's not Halloween yet, but, I'm going to give you a preemptive, sort of thing, because, by the time we do our next podcast, it'll be into November, and I'll be into my daughter's chocolates.
Also, I'm probably not going to be able to upload this, at least not tomorrow, so maybe not you might not hear this until Halloween.
Oh, in that case, I'll be right on time. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just weird how quickly this seems to have gone. I don't know about you, but this last year just kind of disappeared. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
Most of the news it brings is bad news, and it's just been an absolute weirdness.
There's been bad news and some good news, some cool stuff from SpaceX. Some setbacks.
A few bits of good news here and there, but by and large, especially with celebrity deaths and all that, man. If I was the Queen of England, I would have a first aid, a retainer next to me at all times this year.
She probably has something not far from her, I would imagine.
I'm pretty sure everyone around her is at least trained for, basic first aid stuff. But I'd have a professional, man. I'd make sure there's someone on call.
You'd have a professional.
Well,
someone like Dr. Phil.
Well, I'd have a paramedic.
Like a Dr. Oz.
No, someone, an actual paramedic sort of thing, ready.
Like Doctor Who.
I don't think you even need to be a doctor to be a paramedic.
Although,
you need some degree and some work on that.
I'll give you the choice between, a fairly skilled paramedic or Doctor Who. Or the Doctor, I should say.
In that case, I'll have to go with the Doctor, because he is British and does seem to favor the Brits. So I can see him, unless there's a fixed point in time, in which case, get out of the way, get me my paramedics. We will defy the future.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What's the thing with Doctor Who? All you have to do is, get him to, buy a book, about, the history of the British monarchy in 100 years, and he can tell you exactly when you should have that paramedic on hand.
Yeah.
Or maybe he won't. That 12th Doctor's kind of an odd one about that. Well, especially given the fact that he's got that spin-off series that just released this week, eh? Only on Space.
Mm-hmm.
They're going back to the original school that the first Doctor was associated with. He had a granddaughter, not biological, but a granddaughter who was going to school. The teachers noticed she was kind of an odd cookie herself, and so they went to go see what's going on, and then he takes them for an educational tour throughout time. Long story short, the ones involving the future proved to be incredibly popular, so they kind of went with that, and Doctor Who was less a historical, educational sort of program and more science fiction awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever regretted it. So, but yeah, they're going back to that school sort of thing, involving characters and all that. That said, I don't have Space as a channel. I was not able to watch the 2-hour premiere. C'est la vie. I wish it the best of luck. Spin-offs are always a little hard to work with. But, Torchwood apparently lasted quite well, so fingers crossed. In bits of good news for this week, because I said it was a lot of bad news this year, but we do have some good news for this week in fiction-related stuff. 2 bits of good news. I'll focus with mine, which is, the lack of a bad, rather than actual positive news. The infamous film director Ewe Bolle, or as I like to just call him, Weeble, has decided to retire. Woo! He is infamous for producing really bad video game adaptation movies.
I guess you're happy about this then?
The reason why he kept making the movies at the quality he did, because there are some examples of him producing good quality movies, but not when they're related to video games. There was a German tax law that says that if you make a movie and it does not, cover its production costs, then they will give you money back to help finance another movie. So it's like, oh, so sorry it didn't work out. You're like, here, try again and better luck next time. And so there was some deep accusations that what he was doing was making his movies intentionally bad with a budget high enough that there was no way it could have generated a positive revenue. And thus he was effectively, just taking, intellectual properties and just kind of trashing them around to produce something that would get him money, because he still got paid as the producer-director.
How do we all, were people actually watching his movies and stuff?
I won't lie, I have seen at least a few of them.
How do we even know about this guy?
If you had a video game you liked, chances are he has tried to, make a movie, out of it. He did go to the offices of, Blizzard Entertainment, and he told them and offered his services to create a Warcraft movie, and they literally laughed him out of the building. Sort of thing. He was so infamous by that time. He did stuff like Alone in the Dark, that Dungeon Siege game sort of thing. If you haven't seen them, don't worry, you're not missing out on a lot. That's it. I will give him his due. Okay. I did see, the one, House of the Dead one, and there was a scene or two in that I did enjoy. I mean, so
that's one of his movies, House of the Dead.
Oh, sorry, no, not that one. The one he did, the other one he did for the zombie. It was a zombie shooter, sort of thing on rails. You'd have a gun, sort of thing, and you have to shoot your way through a mansion and whatnot.
Sounds familiar, like what you'd see in the arcade.
Exactly. That's the whole. It was an arcade shooter sort of thing. He did do a movie off of that one, and it was not too close. I mean, most of them were kind of iffy as to how close they were.
Okay.
So yeah, the German tax law that he was exploiting, loophole, I guess if you want to call it. I don't know. It just seemed like a tax law. I don't say it was a loophole. It had good intentions, but he was abusing it. They did stop that recently, and he has decided to somehow, coincidentally at that same time, retire from making movies, because as he says in the interviews and all that, video game movies are dead. They can't produce a positive sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, video game movies are hard. That's true.
They are difficult, sort of thing. But there's evidence to the contrary that people just weren't going to see his movies because they were associated with him, and they'd had enough, and he was effectively a toxic name associated with that stuff.
Okay.
People weren't even letting him, within range of the intellectual property, so he couldn't, make another movie.
Okay.
He had burnt enough bridges.
Yeah, that's weird that somebody can be so bad at a thing and yet still keep being allowed to do it.
Well, depending on your opinion of Kevin Smith, I mean, there are some detractors who make the same accusations at him, that he's not making good movies and yet somehow he's still able to make more movies. Adam Sandler has accusations of the similar nature leveled against him.
True. Well, I guess, but you in particular are celebrating. You wouldn't celebrate about Adam Sandler or Kevin Smith retiring.
No. Adam Sandler is a bit of a niche sort of thing. You're not everyone's going to like his movies sort of thing. And admittedly, maybe sometimes those movies aren't the best made. But when you watch his movies, he makes them with all his heart. Same with Kevin Smith. Mm-hmm. He tries, and that's what shines through. You see the Pixels, not very well received. You see Click, decently well received. Mm-hmm. Some of the other Ridiculous Six movie he made, everything I've seen from him seems to be that he wants to tell a story. He just might not have all the tools in the tool shed to make the grand epic stuff he really wants to make. And that only the gross out comedy stuff like Little Nicky and stuff like that is really his forte of what he can do, that everyone has the right expectations going into view. I think Adam Sandler, with maybe a co-producer, co-director, could probably rocket something out. And Adam Sandler has proven he can do some amazing things. His Spanglish, very highly regarded. He did that one 9/11 movie sort of thing about a person suffering from post-traumatic shock, and that wound up getting huge positive reviews as well. So I think maybe some of the stuff leveled against Adam Sandler is people have seen that he can do some deep good work, and then when he goes back to doing his silly comedy stuff, they're like, I wanted more from you, Adam Sandler. So they're like, I can see why some people are naysaying him, like they want him to keep going to stretch. He says 50 First States, like that was a great movie. My wife deeply liked Adam Sandler after seeing that movie for the first time, and I had to break her heart just a little bit and show her some of the other stuff he's done that wasn't like she was kind of hoping like everything he had done was like a 50 First States movie. There's like a nice romantic comedy. And it's like, no, some of it's being rather crass and kind of poop jokey and stuff like that. Which is not to say it's not, like entertaining in its own right, but if you're expecting, like a romantic comedy for all this stuff, ooh boy, you're going to be disappointed there.
Well, I remember there being romance in a few of his movies, so I mean,
But not like a romantic comedy. I mean, did you see 50 First Dates?
No.
Drew Barrymore cannot remember any point after a certain day, and so she is continually reliving the same day. And Adam Sandler, falls in love with her and tries to find a way to make this romance happen. And talk about your Sisyphean hassles going on here, man. This is like every day he has to do the same sort of thing to try and get that relationship, going on there. I found it to be a great movie. There was some crude little bits of jokes in there, like as they're discussing anterograde amnesia sort of thing, and then they like make a joke and it winds up going off at someone else's expense. But I think there was like some real good stuff in there, and my wife definitely enjoyed it. But the premise for a romantic comedy and Adam Sandler don't always go hand in hand. Like there's definitely romance and stuff. Little Nicky, had the love, with that nice honest girl sort of thing there. I wouldn't call that like a romantic comedy same way as like a date movie 50 First Dates was. So. Okay,
I think I understand.
Yeah. Kevin Smith has been accused of making some really weird stuff. I believe even you have accused him of some stuff being too weird.
Yeah.
Not certain as to where to put Tusk. But he makes it. You cannot deny that when Kevin Smith makes a movie, he puts his all. He puts his love into it. He has never cranked out a movie. He has always labored on it. So it's it's artisanal craftsmanship going on in there. No matter what he's doing, it's never just, I just made another movie to fill the contract.
Okay.
Which a lot of people.
Except Kappa. Well, I mean Kappa. I guess he was trying something new, I guess.
Yeah, and
he's trying working on someone else's stuff.
And, that's the thing, though, is, at least he tries to do this other stuff. Like, some people, they realize, I'm good at this one movie, and they'll just produce that one movie over and over and over again. Until it's suddenly no longer, as popular, and then you retire. So, at least, Kevin Smith has always tried, and I will always respect him for that one. Even if I haven't seen all of his movies, it's like, is this good? But it's not really what I'm kind of wanting to watch right now. Maybe another day. And that other day hasn't come around yet. But,
how did we get on this? Oh, Ewe Bolle retiring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ewe Bolle. He's decided to retire because he apparently cannot make another movie and make money off it anymore.
I feel like I don't care at all because I don't think I've seen any of his movies. I believe I've read the name before. I knew that tidbit about Warcraft. You may have seen one of his movies with me and Adam about a decade back. No, I guess it'd be over a decade ago now. Okay.
We did have a habit of renting like almost anything back in the day from Blockbuster when it existed. So
yeah,
it still exists, but it's only really up in Alaska.
Really? Blockbuster's still in Alaska?
Yeah, not a lot of people can get the wireless internet connection needed for streaming movies up there.
Okay,
so,
trivia.
renting a movie is still a viable process.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, it's still viable here. You just can't make financially viable money off it. So, rent from your local library, folks. But, so that's the good news is that's one less impediment to, the video game of your choice being made into a quality movie. There's still 99 more hurdles to be done, but at least there's that one gone. So congratulations, everyone.
I don't know. Do gamers? I don't know how many gamers. With a book, I've often had the thought, I would like, as reading through a novel, I'd be like, yeah, I would like to see this on screen as a movie. But with a video game, I rarely have that feeling of like, oh, what if this was a movie?
Well, there are some things I would like to see made as a movie for video games. I do not have the opportunity to watch, Psychonauts as a video game. Like to watch the full Psychonauts game would just take too much of my time. I got stuff to do here. I've got parental stuff to do there. I've got husbandly stuff to do over there. I just can't fit everything in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, if it wasn't for the fact that I have some spare time with my daughter eating breakfast, I don't know how far we'd be through our Yog Labs sessions these days. But it's something we're doing, and we're enjoying it. But I don't know if I could do Psychonauts. So a Psychonauts movie, I think, would be top notch. Yeah, get me in on the fandom there. I want to see how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, not every movie can be made from a video game. I mean, like the sports stuff. I mean, how could you claim that to be from a video game, right? So I love my copy of SSX Tricky. Zoey asked me to hook this stuff up and play it. And I love to do that, but I don't know if they could make a movie out of it. Snowboarding championship movie?
There are snowboarding
There are,
movies.
but you'd probably be best just to make it whole cloth. If you want to do a snowboard championship, like a movie sort of thing with awesome tricks, just make up your own, man. You don't need to take from a video game in that. So.
Yeah.
But I think everyone has a video game that they deeply enjoy. And the concept of that being made into a movie should be a very happy thought for them. Dwarf Fortress, the movie. God,
okay,
I would love to
all
see
right. I would like to see somebody take a
downfall
shot
of a
at
dwarven fortress through some sort of crazy tantrum spiral, like beasts coming up from the underground and orcs and or goblins attacking from like the outskirts and all that, and like elven, like tortures going on there. I think that could make for a. I don't know if it'd be a dramatic, suspenseful thing, but I think it would make for one heck of a dark comedy.
It reminds me of The Revenant. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, some dwarves survive despite a heck of a lot of punishment, so I could see definitely shades of The Revenant in there.
Yeah.
I guess long story short now, though, like I said, I don't know of anybody that doesn't appreciate at least one kind of video game out there. One thing that in their childhood, one thing that they're playing, earlier today. But I think everyone would like to see that sort of thing brought to the big screen and have everyone just realize how awesome their video game is, even if it's only done in the format of a movie. Because there is the thing with video games being said that they are an odd form of entertainment because it's all locked away. You have to earn the right to watch the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, I've played over 100 hours on some of these games sort of thing to see the whole thing play out, and find out the ending of the story. Admittedly, I probably could have rushed through StarCraft a little quicker, but I'm always big on complete, domination of the landscape. So, yeah, it's a thing I have. I just accept it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see a StarCraft movie. Oh,
yeah.
Man, that would tickle my fancy.
Well, the thing about Blizzard, as StarCraft and Warcraft, is they make the games already a bit. Well, they have cinematics. They're called cinematics.
Oh yeah, the cinematics. I mean, if you go and you Google up, StarCraft original cinematics, they don't look too grand nowadays. Everyone looks kind of like they're made out of putty.
Yeah.
But in the time when they were made, they were amazingly well done.
Yeah.
And Blizzard continues on that tradition by showing off their shorts for Overwatch, which I think is a great way of keeping hype up and keeping interest even for the non-players. Because I've loved the Overwatch shorts that I've seen. It's good stuff. Just a tiny little movie, all packaged up there and wonderfully animated.
All right. Well, yeah. So
woo, good news. What's your good news to tell, Josh?
My good news. As if it's mine to tell. But yes, I found out that Star Wars Han Solo movie is officially confirmed.
That is the young Han Solo.
I guess, yeah, it's a Han Solo, The Adventures of. I read, there's short stories floating out there. I had them in a novel form. I guess they repackaged them that way. They wrote them way back, 20 years or 30 years ago.
I have been told, correct me if I'm wrong, But George Lucas's original backstory for Han Solo is he grew up on a watery planet, bumming around and smoking space weed. Confirm or deny? Do you know?
I can't remember. And I don't know what they're going to do.
Han Solo is so mysterious, people can't even remember young Han Solo's backstory. What turned him into this shoot-first smuggler, man?
Yeah. I don't remember it was so long ago that I read the novels, I don't even remember anything about young Han Solo.
See? This is why we need a movie.
I guess, we need a movie now. I'm excited. I think this is another good movie that's going to come out about the Star Wars universe. So, looking forward to it.
Now that my daughter's deep into Star Wars, I want, like one movie per year until she gets sick and tired of it, which I anticipate being, I don't know, I guess at this rate, like a dozen years. Another Star Wars movie, Dad? Okay, fine. We'll get some StarCraft movies going.
Yeah. Well, it used to be like that. Like when I used to read the novels, they're probably still writing novels about the same rate. It's just they've had to reset the universe, so they're like, oh, okay, now we write different novels. But it was like that with me for a while. That a couple novels would come out, each year, and like that was my Star Wars fix. And it was pretty good.
It's a good fix to have. Keeps the brain strong that way, too.
Yeah. But now, it's more like actual movies.
Yeah.
At that rate, yeah.
And that's, speaking as a dad, that's pretty awesome. Like, I can take my daughter to a Star Wars movie. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I've shown her the stuff for the, the Rogue One trailer. She seems really digging on that. So, yay. So I think your good news is better than my good news, because my good news is kind of like tainted with Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude?
Yeah, Schadenfreude. I got a bad accent.
Well, yes, I
Yours
own
is pure good news. Yours is like, yay, we get a good movie, hopefully. Yeah. Mine's like, a bad person has stopped doing bad things. Rejoice. So, I guess your movie trumps mine.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. How about in personal news, though, Josh? What you been doing this week? For fiction.
No news to report. No, for fiction, I think the main thing I did this week was pretty much play Dwarf Fortress. That's all I can remember.
And you've been able to keep it to the same fortress as the previous times, right?
Actually, I started a new fortress. Well, actually, and I didn't, it's not even a real, what I've been doing is I've been trying to, I went on the wiki and looked up how to get through an aquifer.
Oh, yes, that is one heck. There's two different ways about doing that. I will explain quickly for the people out there. You would have to dig out an area around the aquifer and kind of force like a crash down into the area as one of the major options. The other one being like smoothing stone, because aquifers are sometimes clay, sometimes stone levels. But for the stone ones, you have enough people pumping out the water as it like leaks on into the area, and then you just have it smoothed over, because smooth stone does not leak water. The third and technically somewhat not official one is you go into the game files and you look at all the stone and dirt entities, and you delete the brackets around the word aquifer, thus negating aquifers even after world creation. So that way you just dig down, smooth the stuff, put the aquifers back in, and then you're done. Okay. It's kind of cheaty, but if you don't have the patience of proper aquifer like digging management techniques.
Yeah. As I was doing it, it did occur to me that this is like most of the game world that is created has aquifers, right?
Well, that's the thing. It actually depends on like which side of the mountain range you're on qualifies as aquifer versus non. So sometimes you just get a bad luck where like one side of the world is like really big, but it qualifies as the rainward side, and thus all aquifer. The other is the dry side, and it's really narrow and perfectly usable. So it's like, man.
Okay. I haven't got to that. I haven't analyzed it in that much detail.
Depends on how big of a world you have, too. Like a smaller world, which are admittedly easier to generate, do have a habit of being almost completely aquifers in a lot of cases.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'll have to try making a bigger world, because I've only ever done medium and small worlds.
I recommend bringing a book with you.
Yeah.
The last time I generated a large world, it took me 4 hours to get a couple hundred years in. And, it was like a 500-year world generation. It took me almost a half day. And I couldn't do anything else on my computer at the time, so it was just basically like, okay, I'm going to play with my daughter, read some books, have a nap. Oh, good, look, you're just finishing off.
Okay, well, it also occurred to me that one thing that they should have in the game somehow is, because it's really fiddly, like with... It seems like it should be something that's you're allowed to do, is dig through an aquifer, seal it off so that you can get to layers below, right? That makes sense, right?
Yes.
So what they ought to have is like some kind of building option where it's just, even within one square, just, sort of a sealed stairway or something like that.
Oh, well, you can make a stairway, but then what you have to wind up doing is like pumping the water out as you smooth the edges around, otherwise the water keeps leaking in.
Yeah, but like there should be, like, you shouldn't have to pump just to get through.
Well, here's the thing: it is based on like certain levels of technology. I believe the 14th century was marked as the standard limit. Dwarves get a wider range of like gem crafting options than the 14th century had because, well, they're dwarves, and that was kind of the best excuse. And that's one of the few excuses for technological extra advancement and techniques known.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that even Leonardo da Vinci was stumped by stuff like aquifers and how to drain a swamp. Even he had his limits, the great Da Vinci himself, and it had to do with moving water out of an area to like drain a swamp, thus an aquifer level.
Well, but the thing is, they can do it, and also it's sort of required to get to some of the main parts of the game.
Well, keep in mind there is no real like main part of the game. Everything's kind of like do what the heck you want. If you want to like go into the middle of a swamp, never dig more than like 1 or 2 squares under the ground, and just like raise a bunch of crocodiles to skin and like sell off like a bunch of crocodile leather and crocodile like pets.
Yeah.
You can do that. That's perfectly valid.
And you can like keep a fort sustainable.
Yeah, you can keep a fort sustainable. Well, I mean, they produce eggs, and the slaughtering them produces meat. So there's your foodstuffs.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have aquifer on level 1, then you can have some underground cropland for your basic underground crops. Otherwise, you can do some planting on the top stuff. And if you're in the right area, you can get some stuff like stinkweed. It'll actually produce some rather decent quality alcohols, even if it's not usually well-liked alcohol. So yeah, it's viable. You'd just be some sort of crazy swamp dwarves that build with wood everywhere as opposed to anywhere with stone.
Mm-hmm.
But with the exception of just a few items, sort of thing, like there's really not a lot you can't do. Querns and millstones need to be made out of actual stone. You can't make them out of wood.
Okay.
That is really about it. Everything else can be manufactured some other way.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, keep in mind, like, Dwarf Fortress is one of those games where there is no real wrong way, but if you want the traditional, like, dwarven, digging experience, yeah, aquifers are going to be a mighty high hurdle. And even Toady One admits when he's doing his game testing, he just does not embark on an aquifer. He just finds it too annoying to try for his own stuff.
Right, yeah.
But if you want to hurdle that challenge, I mean, that's no different than, trying to, do any of the other, self-imposed challenges in there. Like, I'm going to embark on a glacier. I do that all the time. I've got a 5-story wall surrounding almost my entire map out of ice I've made from a glacier.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe what I want is...
Heck, I embarked on a glacier that had an aquifer.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think what I want is, maybe a subsystem or something, because the problem is, I'm doing a lot of, pausing and redigging and pausing and reinitializing jobs.
Yeah.
Because the dwarfs will get washed away by a bit of water, and but they can try again, and eventually they
If it makes you
succeed.
feel better, you do have some of the squeakiest clean dwarfs possible this way.
That's true, yeah.
Like, I won't lie, my dwarves in that frozen glacier sort of thing, they are all absolutely filthy with the whatever dust that's coming down there, the heinous dust that's on every one of their clothes, everywhere.
And you don't have soap in that?
I have soap, but I don't have liquid water.
No, yeah.
I've done some save scumming to do some exploratory digging things. I don't have water until like the second or maybe even third cavern layer.
But you can build a well as long as you have a straight line down to it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, once I was able to figure out from the first cavern is bone dry on that thing. You know, there's nothing growing down there except some mosses. And like, as soon as I found that water, every dwarf stopped what they were doing. No matter how important it was, they stopped what they were doing and they went down there to clean themselves off.
Oh yeah.
They all want a bath so bad.
Yeah.
And every time I play the game and I don't breach that cavern level because I'm just not prepared for the added monster hassle that it would bring, it hurts me, man. It hurts me knowing I've got these stinky, like smelly dwarves in my fortress that want a bath but can't have it because everything's frozen. Because I embarked on a glacier of my own free will.
Right, yeah.
Not their free will, apparently. It's all my free will. I chose the location.
But yeah, well, what I was saying I wanted, like my wish list for Dwarf Fortress, would be to be able to create like a manager dwarf or somebody like that, and just say to him, okay, you know how, or like a dwarf who knows how to do
reinitialize the project.
Basically, break through an aquifer. It's like he's the aquifer expert, and like just say, okay, you manage these dwarves to get through the aquifer. And like do all the pausing and reinitializing you need to do while I build. I have to manage
something else of consequence.
Something else in the in the fortress. Yeah. So. Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll buy that. It is marked by anyone who does it as being probably really, really the most annoying thing you'll be doing anytime soon. But it is a huge accomplishment. It's kind of like making the cake for the first time in Minecraft.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
It is an accomplishment to say, look at me, I have gone from Stone Age technology to making a cake.
Yeah. Well, in that case, what would I find the most fun, actual fun, not fun, would be like to have a level or have a map where there's a bunch of stone exposed, so I guess maybe half mountains or something like that. So you could do a lot of cool dwarfy stuff, and then like at some point fairly lower down there is an aquifer, so that you can kind of build up to that.
Well, if you want, I mean, you could always like mod the files a little bit. Like I was talking about how you get rid of the brackets around aquifer to make sure that they're not an aquifer. You can even do that in your game. Like if you get really tired of this, just go in there, find like what sort of stone are you working with?
It's called like conglomerate.
In that case, you find the entity marked conglomerate, you get rid of the brackets, you start your game back up. All of a sudden, no water coming out of that stone. So you could take a deeper stone like serpentine. I don't think I've ever seen on the surface. So yeah, something like serpentine, you can add the aquifer tag to that. You could even make up your own kind of stone and just make it an aquifer sort of thing. Like I made up a stone called Midnight. Sort of thing, and like whenever it gets turned from a solid block, from the ground into a boulder, it automatically sublimates into a gas, and anyone breathing in the gas winds up getting really, really tired. It's sleep, sort of thing.
Sleep stone, okay.
Yeah, it's effectively a sleep stone you get from Midnight.
Well, I might have to try that. I don't mind modding a game. Well, I'm still not yet
and
quite
even
ready.
That's a fairly basic one. All you'd have to do is check to find stuff that's marked fairly lower on that isn't something valuable, like some types of basic quality stone can be used for good stuff like kilning processes. Marble is needed in addition to making things look out of marble and awesome, used as a flux stone that a lot of people use to make their steel out of.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure you get the right sort of stone to select, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. You can make that one that. So if you want, you could even say, it's like, okay, I was having a hard time getting the aquifer at the very start. So I took aquifer off these higher end stones like conglomerate and added them onto a lower stone. So for some reason in my game world, serpentine is an aquifer stone. I've been thinking about doing it for my own game because it's just like, oh my god, my dwarves are going to wind up getting so dirty. Maybe I should, look around and find a junk stone, no worth, no value other than it being like a one, unit value stone, and make that my aquifer stone.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's fine if you have to mod. I was just thinking like how I would prefer the game to sort of come out of the box, but I guess it's still in alpha.
It's not even in a box. Yeah.
So it's not in a box. So I guess this is This is how I would. This is a change I would make before final release, or the actual game. I would have it like.
Well, the thing is it is trying to be fairly realistic, and most, aquifers stone isn't really that too deep, relatively speaking.
Well, yeah, for dwarves who dig hundreds of meters.
Well, it's just that if you have like in a real world setting sort of thing, like if you have an aquifer stone and then a cave underneath, you have a cave full of water underneath, because it all drips down into there.
That would be the case. Yeah.
So there is that issue. But otherwise, good point to bring up, because a lot of people do have issues with aquifers. It's a big stymieing thing for a lot of new players. I'll just mark wherever I want, aquifer, whatever.
Yeah.
Saltwater aquifers, even harsher.
Yeah.
Because you don't even get usable water out of that. That's your big thing?
That's me. That's what I did.
I've been trying to waste a lot of time in Minecraft this week.
Okay.
I have the ores that produce that are being produced from reeds, but I have such huge demands for them that I can't just get whatever I want right away. And so I've decided to finish off a little bit of a road I was making, and now I've got a road that leads out of my wonderful big fantastic city. It's a small just 2 wide cobblestone path. Here's the thing, I'm a weird duck, even though I'll admit that one.
Yep. I'll accuse you of it too.
Well, that's the thing. It's like okay, I will make a road out. From this spot. If I head due west, I'll wind up being able to connect it to where I'm digging for my my area of the stronghold, the subterranean stronghold sort of thing. I'm unearthing it just to see what it looks like, because I've never really explored with one before.
Okay.
And in addition to that, there's a town nearby, so I'll be able to connect up to both these things. And I'm using cobblestone, so I should be able to just kind of dig out some dirt and make a big old road, with stairs and cobblestone, blocks.
You follow the terrain,
I should have. It would have saved me a lot of time and energy, but what I did was I just kind of blasted a straight path through, and anything in my way I straightened out and evened things out. So my path is kind of like there was a hill here at this point in time, and I just kind of cleaved a nice V shape out of that and straight on through.
I will do that with smaller hills. Bigger hills I will either dig a tunnel through.
A quarter of my town that I built is actually part of a mountain, like a desert mountain sort of thing going on there.
Yeah.
That was just kind of in my way, so I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted what was, situated up around that. So it's like, well, you know what? I don't need this mountain blocking my view, so I just got rid of about 2/3 of the mountain.
Well, here's the thing. You call it a mountain. In real life, it's probably 10, 15 meters tall.
Let's see. Well, I'm usually working at 64. That one went up to 100-something. It was pretty big, yeah.
So it's pretty okay. So that would be like a mountain, It
was kind of like the mesa sort of stuff you see connected close by, and how it just kind of goes up, up, up.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that unusual to, in real life, people will dynamite. I guess this is modern technology, but people dynamite hills. Have you seen what they're doing?
Keep in mind, most of the stuff I did that with was effectively Stone Age technology. I was using stone tools for a lot of that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Because that's how I roll.
But yeah, out in the western communities right now, in near outside Victoria, they're dynamiting hills away to build houses there. So making nice flat land for,
What's the thing is like I could have built stuff up on there and made it all work, but I wanted my perfectly square area where everything's on like based on level horizontal level 64, just a little bit higher than the water level. Not that there's much water in the desert, right?
Yeah.
I made one. A quarter of my city is in the like a lake.
Yeah.
I did that.
Well, and also, but in Missouri they have the mounds.
Oh, yeah.
Which they either had temples on top, they're not sure, or some kind of ceremonial purpose or whatever. But they basically had a city.
Dry purpose. Yeah.
They might have had houses up there, but yeah, they theorized that city might have been as populous as like Paris at the time, or Moscow, or
maybe
those
more
big
towards
European
Venice.
Cities. Yeah. So, and this was in America in what was the 1200s, I guess.
Oh yeah, America in the 1200s was actually a pretty bustling, awesome little place.
Yeah.
Not what you would expect for a culture when you think like Western civilization stuff, but they had a lot of stuff happening.
But then I guess I may have just undermined my point because I was going to say something about Stone Age tools, but they probably had slightly better tools.
To the best of my knowledge, they didn't surpass the Bronze Age in the area.
I know they didn't have real horses and stuff, so they didn't use animal power.
And they had already hunted their giant beavers to extinction in the land, so they didn't have giant beavers to move stuff around, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Humanity. Woo.
But yeah, people build some pretty interesting, and then flatten out stuff and build mounds or stuff. So you're not unusual in that.
Well, between that and my desire to fill, all the underground passages beneath me, it's a weird thing I do.
But also, when you build a road in Minecraft, like I've noticed a lot of people try to do like a sort of organic, sort of a spackled version of a cobble road. It's like grassy, mossy, and they'll kind of make it curve and stuff, and they'll make it all fancy like that.
I have the ability to punch a tree and get away with that, so like why am I going to work around something when I can just make my way through? There's only one thing in the game I can think of for that map where I am going to go around, and that is thanks to the magic mods I've got. I've got a magic node that's hungry and sucks up blocks and now has effectively a crater just north of my city. I will go around that.
Yeah.
I could technically make an impenetrable path out of stuff like obsidian.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna. Even in that case, I'm gonna go around because I'm too terrified of oh no, I got sucked up into it and now I'm dead. And there goes all my stuff and all my experience and all my hard earned and made crud. So it's no. Even in cases where I got magical power, I'm still going around that.
Yeah.
But that mountain gotta fall. It's just not sticking up.
Yeah, when I do roads in Minecraft, they're almost always straight lines. And if I have to do a turn, I'll do 9 degrees, like 2 90-degree turns to get around something. I won't do a curve around a mountain or something.
I'm prepared to do a 45-degree sort of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I have a few of those in my world, but not many. Yeah, I remember I told you about my offset sheep farms.
Yes,
that are all at 45
prevent
degrees.
them from all accumulating in the one area.
Yeah, and then so around that I have some roads that are also in that direction. But then they encounter other roads, and it's a bit weird because the rest of my world is more.
Yeah, you're talking to another guy who's living in Victoria. I know about weird roads, don't worry.
Yeah, well, I'm sure most cities have their weird roads, except Calgary. Calgary has all straight corners.
That's the kind of city I grew up in. Yeah. No, that's because Calgary had this plan of planning ahead. It's like, well, what are we going to do if things happen here? It's like, well, straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. What if we want a curve? Yeah, okay, you get a couple curves here and there, but straight lines everywhere.
But also, Calgary's not an island and doesn't have too many mountains.
Yeah, something fun you can do with flat land is really worked that out. Yeah. Not that you need flat land. One of the neighboring towns from where I'm from, the small town of Wilmer, is very grid-like, and it still has it's right next to the sloughs. It's got its all pothole stuff on the side there, but no, by and large, all straight lines because that's how they wanted it and that's how they did it, and I respect them for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something. So I got a chance to listen to a lot of Kevin Smith as I was building a road and just kind of wasting some time.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So that was a good time there. Finally, as of yesterday, the Secret World got around to releasing this year's Halloween stuff. And I'm loving it already. The theme for the stuff that you're getting in like the treasure bags this year is Tim Burton stuff. So the outfit that you can get, like the whole replacement outfit, is a Beetlejuice, striped, white and black. And then you've got stuff like The Nightmare Before Christmas, where you can get masks effectively lock, shock, and barrel, with like a crooked stovepipe hats and fun little things like that. A really nice like pendant sort of thing that goes around, that good sparkles on that one. Some fuzzy monster slippers in all sorts of colors. Zoey has fallen in love with it. I had to get her character like a couple things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've been waiting. Like, this thing will go like straight up, like past, the whole Halloween, up to just about, I believe, Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, depending on where you are for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of nice, getting that post, like Halloween thing that's still in full swing. I managed to play through the same mission I did last year. There's a daily mission where I got to go go to a few areas, do a few things, and then go to a spot in the Transylvanian area and beat up a ghost on the airwaves, sort of thing. Like, it's listening through the airwaves of like history.
Okay.
And when I was there before, it's a 4-part fight with him. It's 4 different rooms, and each room has like a radio that spawns ghostly, additional like creatures that'll like just pester you and like slowly try and kill you. And when I was doing it last year, I couldn't do it without shooting out the radio and getting rid of the ads, because they can't spawn if the radio's been busted.
Okay.
And I tried it yesterday, and I go in there, and I got my my big weapon, bam, one big shot, and then a few little shots. Oh, he teleports to another area, and I just chase him. And I'm like, the ads, the ghosts that were coming out of the radios, they were just falling as collateral damage. I didn't even need to target them. I am just too badass this time. Got the achievement for defeating the boss without having to destroy any of the radios. Didn't even need to try on that one. So it's just like,
is it just that you're higher level this year?
Well, that's the thing. There is no level in there, but I am much better geared out. I think last year I was in greens with a few bits of blue quality, and this time I am all purple, and one of my weapons is really high end. I've really made the effort to like get that one up as high as I could for quality level and damage output stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I'm quite happy to see in the 1 year like time span, it's just how much I've been able to improve. And I'm quite happy with that. And in addition to the loot I got, I managed to get like the Shriek outfit from like the series of horror movies.
Scream?
Yeah. They call it Shriek because they're not going to spend the money on the IP rates to put that in a video game. Come on.
Wait, what? It's called Shriek in the game.
In the game, it's called the Shriek outfit.
Okay.
It's the Scream outfit. Yeah.
Okay.
I managed to get that one yesterday off that, and so I gave that one over to my daughter's tune. And if I get another one, maybe I'll give that over to my other alt. Otherwise, I might sell it for money. Because I'm on the auction house already, buying all bits and pieces of the uniforms as I can afford them, and all my characters are growing broke, buying what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm enjoying it immensely, and it's finally here now. Oh, it's so nice.
Cool.
Otherwise than that, we watched 2 movies this week. We were supposed to watch Kung Fu Panda 3, but the previous people who rented it from the library accidentally put Kung Fu Panda 1 in instead. And so, I've already seen Kung Fu Panda 1. Aside from the fact that I love it and it's really wonderfully done, and even though it's a Western film done with the in what's effectively China, you can tell it was Adam Sandler and Kevin Smith stuff. It was all done from a perspective of love, sort of thing. It wasn't just like, let's tell an awesome movie where they kick butt all the time. So I guess it's got to be in China. It's like no, let's make sure everything seems right, seems authentic, and it's able to tell a story that even people in China will be proud of and not think like, oh, geez, you guys really, kind of ripped off our culture for that. Because I do believe you mentioned way back for one of our news bits how China came out and basically said, Kung Fu Panda is the best Chinese, like a cartoon movie that we.
Yeah, some people in China were complaining that how come we can't have good movies like that in China?
Why can't we make this?
But they're basically saying it sort of in a complimentary way to saying that
it's so good we can't match that.
Yeah, Hollywood
and
got
we're
it right.
in China, so it's like it's just. It seems a little like almost like they're unhappy with it, but it's really just such high praise. They're a little sour that they couldn't do it themselves.
I think that was what some Chinese critics were saying. Yes.
Yeah. That said, I kind of like the stories coming out of China. Like so they're wuxia martial arts. You can't get that here in America, and like Canada. I don't know if you can even make that, like anywhere in Europe, sort of thing. It can only seem to come from China, Japan, and like associated Asiatic countries. I have yet to see a Philippine martial arts movie in the same sort of way. But I have high faith in that they can do some over-the-top martial arts action movie.
Well, I would look it up, and maybe you might find something. I don't know.
I think, from what I've seen from my wife's soap operas, they can do all good fantasies or stuff. They did some stuff with some turtle people. Not Ninja Turtles, but actual like mythological turtle people. Mm-hmm. And it was really well done. And so it's like, yeah, okay. So it seems like they know how to do the right thing. I just haven't bugged my wife. It's like, hey, you got any martial arts movies I can watch? Maybe after Halloween's done. Like right now I'm kind of, more into a horror movies or zombie. You guys got any zombie movies I can watch? So, yeah, maybe after Halloween. But the other movie we watched this week was Sleeping Beauty. And I'm quite happy for it because this is the first time I had a chance to watch Sleeping Beauty. For whatever reason, we never watched it as kids, and they just never got around to it. And so what wound up happening is I got a chance to watch it for the first time with my daughter. So that was quite nice. I loved it. This movie was the prototype for what a Disney movie is by today's standards. The earlier ones, like I said, like you see Pinocchio, and you see the villain. You see Pinocchio, and all that, and you see like the bad guys getting away with this and that. It's a little weird to see that in a Disney movie. Like, wait, what happened to Honest John? Why doesn't he get his comeuppance? What's going on there? Whatever, man. He's done with the story now. So it all came in. Like I was watching it, it's like, yeah, all you'd really need to do is update the style for how they make the movie, and it could be like almost like a modern day movie. So this is the first real full Disney movie that I've been able to see chronologically. I found it to be a very interesting on a few levels. Like Maleficent has some minions. They never wind up mentioning, like aside from the fact that they're goblinoids. Like what's their story? She's just an evil person with minions. I can respect that.
They're imps or goblins or
they're pretty much goblins. You look at them and it's like yeah, they're not big enough to be like all orcish, but they're definitely goblinoid.
Okay.
I really, really dig the fact that Maleficent is basically the highest power in the land. Like, there's kings here, there's the 3, fairies over there, but, like when Aurora winds up, getting cursed, sort of thing, like this guy's got an army. His neighbor, they've arranged the marriage, so like this neighboring kingdom is also vested in the interest there. They've got an army, I'm willing to bet. You've got 3 fairies with magical powers. Why don't you just, go find, Maleficent's, where her fortress is. She's got the thing in the evil mountains. So why don't you just go there and just, bust shit up? And they're like, even the 3 fairies say, even with all our magic, we don't think we could beat Maleficent, sort of thing. So she is the highest power, and I kind of dig that perspective. I was like, well, why don't you just go beat up the evil person? It's like, well, even if we all were together, we might not be able to win against her. And that's like, yeah.
And there's also the doctrine of preemptive strikes and stuff, which we had in 2003 with George Bush. But this thing, because you can go after Saddam,
it wouldn't even be preemptive at this point, sort of thing, because Maleficent has actively come into the kingdom, cursed the princess. Thus, this was going to unify the 2 kingdoms into one more cohesive, greater kingdom. Technically an empire, because if you've got multiple kingdoms, you'd wind up having an emperor for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would have wound up being like a whole new dynasty, like this united kingdom sort of thing, and everyone was for that. And there's this lady coming in here saying, she will, get cursed. She will die upon year 16. Good luck marrying her, Princy boy. And off she goes, just being evil. And it's just like, wow. There is a good cause, for, at least from a medieval or pseudo-medieval standpoint.
Therefore, murder her.
Well, this is a lady who just goes around doing stuff, like evil. Like her motive was never really too clear for what she's doing, aside from bad manners and spite. She appears, at the whole thing, as the fairies are giving their blessings, of which, as a quick tangential note, they wish her with great beauty and a great singing voice. Don't get me wrong; those are both very good things. But I noticed at the top of that list was not brains. So, yeah. Not truly like a modern Disney movie, but definitely the first of the Disney styles. A modern Disney movie should have been granted with great intelligence after beauty. Singing voice can come from that, right?
Yeah.
Or teach yourself to sing better, yeah. But yeah, it's like the fairies are granting the stuff, and then Maleficent pops in and is like, I was not invited to this thing. Look at everyone else is here. Surely you must have forgotten it, and that's the only reason I wasn't invited. And according to the earlier story, the original one, Maleficent was actually just the evil fairy who was just not invited, and thus really angry. And why'd she do something evil? Well, she's a fairy. That's what they kind of do, right?
Yeah.
So at least there's a bit of motivation for that. But then later on, Sleeping Beauty is sleeping. Aurora's in an enchanted sleep. Everyone else in the castle is asleep as well, and Maleficent kidnaps the prince, the person who can undo the curse of the sleep. And her plan is to keep him imprisoned for 100 years. Now he's a few years older than Aurora, and Aurora just turned 16. So she plans on keeping him until he's about 120 years old, and then freeing him and letting him go and give the kiss.
Well, she's also going to be 120.
But, no, she'd only be about 116 at that point.
116, okay.
But she's in an enchanted sleep, so she will be 16 in all intents and purposes.
So he's going to have a big long beard and be all old and stuff?
He's going to be, decrepitly ancient. Oh, apparently she's going to keep his horse alive, too, because in, the scene she's showing him, the horse is still there.
Yeah.
So that's downright animal cruelty right there. That is
to keep a horse alive beyond its years.
Not just beyond its years, but a century beyond its years. Horses have a decent lifespan, but that's easily triple. Because this is already a full-grown horse, man. So yeah, this is that is going to be one brittle-boned horse. But she's planning on letting him free after 100 years so that he can give the kiss. And oh yeah, let's see how powerful true love really is when you're 120 and she's 16. And it's wow. I had to just that was golf clap there, man. That is just an amazingly evil plan.
Good job for being evil. Okay.
Well, because if you really want to deride the power of love, setting up a situation like that where you've got 16 years versus 120 years. And it's wow, that is a great way to deride the love conquers all, right? Love will be the solution to all the problems. Yeah. Try 104 years of difference in age. Try that, love. So, as plans go, that is really decently done. That is
So hang on. Man. So he's in the castle.
He's in Maleficent's evil castle at this point. So.
Okay, yeah. So her plan, anyways, is for him to be trapped. So he doesn't have any human interactions. So he doesn't have an opportunity.
There'll be goblin interactions, I suppose, as they feed him every day for a couple times a day for a century.
But sort of in that way, I almost think that it would kind of work out because
he's still 120 years old.
Well, the only thing keeping him going, sort of, I don't know if he's getting tortured or anything, but it's essentially a torture because he's away from his true love. Isolation torture or whatever. And also isolated from general society in general, too. If it was just I'll take your true love and hide her away for 100 years, and he's just left to, be a king in a castle or whatever, he might move on and marry someone else.
Yeah.
But because he's sort of kept in this dungeon or whatever, that's the thing that keeps him going, is his love for his...
And that's the thing, though, is in addition to that, Maleficent also turned the reversion of her curse, because her curse was that she will prick her finger on a spinning needle at age 16 and she will die. And then the fairies weren't able to undo that, but the third fairy, who hadn't given her blessing yet, was able to lessen it down to fall into an enchanted slumber. She will be dead asleep.
Yeah.
As a nice way. It's a good twist on magic. It's the kind of magic twist I like.
Okay.
And when even despite that, Maleficent still manages to make sure she pricks her fingers sort of thing, and then falls into the enchanted sleep. The fairies wind up, okay, we'll put everyone else to sleep, in the castle, so that way, at least they won't suffer, for her absence. Which is, yeah, that sounds pretty good, right? That sounds,
sure. It sounds like it's something a fairy would do.
Yeah, and Maleficent is able to turn that one on its head to say, no, listen, this entire castle is now going to wind up being cursed for the century as well. Haha, I've turned your good intentions action into a curse, just as you turned my curse into a good intention. So it's just she has masterfully played them on all levels. This final bit that she does there, that is all good stuff. Spoiler alert, she loses, good win. So it's oh man, I kind of hate seeing her die at the end of that one, because it's she was really good as a villain. There's good villain, and then there's incompetent villain, and she was maybe one of the best villains I think I've ever seen.
Okay, well, yes, Maleficent eventually gets her own film in the 21st century.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll explain a little bit more as to why this Maleficent did her evil actions, as opposed to I am the top power in the land. I suppose this is just going to be hobby evil I'm doing now, just to keep me busy. Get me out there doing stuff. No one can really oppose her. She can go about and do what the heck she wants. There's, no one who has... It's not just a matter of courage to try and stop her. There's just no one who has the raw power to face her. Courage doesn't even factor into the equation until the very end, when things happen to go, in everyone the good's way, So it's just you got to do something to keep busy, right? She's got an army of goblins. Everyone lets her do what she wants, so she's an evil person, and she proclaims herself to be evil too. Then you know what? I guess her cursing, babies, at their blessings and all that stuff is just her hobby. Until the movie shows me otherwise. I'm very interested in watching the movie now. I won't lie. Yeah, I really do want to see it was, I believe, Angelina Jolie as Maleficent in that one.
Well, I was thinking Kim Jong-un has hobbies. Kim Jong-il had hobbies.
Yeah.
So
everyone needs a hobby, whether you're good or evil. Just, sometimes maybe if you're evil shouldn't be your hobby. Try putting, miniature boats together in a bottle. Don't actually shrink a boat full of people and put it in a bottle. Actually make, a boat in the bottle. I quite dug that. I liked the personality and the camaraderie between the two kings, Aurora's dad and the prince's dad. Because every time they were together, it really seemed like these guys had some backstory, some history to them. It felt like they were friends, not just neighboring kings. So I don't know if there's some sort of backstory thing going on about how they tried to fight Maleficent and they failed, and thus now they're kowtowed, against her sort of thing. But because they do seem to be it's more than just being hey, I'm a king, you're a king, let's be friends together, right? They seem like they're legitimately good friends. They're chatting like you'd see you and me chat to each other, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm quite happy on seeing that thing. It's especially after the last couple old Disney movies, I am happy to see anybody with some real character in there. The prince had some personality. Both kings had some good personality. There was no queen on the one side, and the queen on Aurora's side didn't really have any personality. But it's still still leaps ahead of what you saw in previous kings and queens and princes. So, hooray! Long story short, if you think you've seen them all, sort of thing, go watch it again. It's a good classic Disney movie that is the classic Disney movie for how it all goes. And they even make little jokes too, because it's like, the prince wants to marry the lady he's met out in the woods with a beautiful singing voice. Yeah, that's right. By the song that Zoey couldn't remember, by the way, was Once Upon a Dream. I caught myself humming that for days afterwards. So it's a classic Disney movie in that it's got a song you will catch yourself singing, at some point down the road. But he says to his dad, he's like, "Oh, come on, father, it's the 14th century. Arranged marriages? Come on, let me marry the lady I've fallen in love with." It happens to be the same one there. Their whole issue about, "Oh no, I want to marry this. Oh no, this person won't marry you." It's the same person. Just if you had just shut up and put up with it for a while, you would have been pleasantly surprised. Yeah. They could have been married the same day, and then, the whole thing would have happened, and I guess Maleficent's curse about, dying before marriage, I think, would never have come to fruition anyways. If only they had, these young kids had just listened to their elders. But that does take us into the topic we have for this week, because I did mention, he's 120 years old, she's 16. That's hella awkward.
Okay.
But you look at some other examples in fiction, and it doesn't seem to be regarded as awkward. You look at, let's go with the Star Trek universe. Spock's parents. His mom was, Terran. She's Earthling, not human. His father is Sarika Vulcan, a full-blooded Vulcan. And Vulcans last a lot longer than humans do. I mean, 2 centuries later, I believe it was, in the next generation, there's Sarika Vulcan there. He's still an active, he's just about ready to retire, but active diplomat.
It's more like 1 century later, or even 70 years between the two.
Oh, that's right. 200 years is the difference between the 60s time and the original series. Sorry, yeah. But it's still 100 years later, he's still an active. He's not even. He's just getting ready to retire. He's not even a retired, diplomat at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I recall a bit in Voyager where Janeway remarks that Tuvok is about to hit the big 300. So 300 years is not the end of a lifespan for a Vulcan. So does it really matter how old Spock's mom was when she married Sarek Vulcan, and they wound up having a kid together? Because it's let's assume she's 40 years old. Mm-hmm. In the terms of the Vulcan people, that's kiddie age, man. That is not old at all.
Well, I mean, it's an adult.
Well, that's the thing.
Emotionally mature.
Let's go back over to the Voyager series. You have Neelix. Depending on how you think of him, I like the actor. I like the character. He had his good points. He had his good roles in there.
Yeah.
He was in a relationship with Cass. From a species of alien that lived to be about 9 years at most, and she was 3 years old.
Yeah.
He was in a physical relationship with a 3-year-old lady.
Yeah.
Now, I won't call it a 3-year-old girl, because she was physically mature, and she, was smart enough to qualify as about the same as, I guess, you or I. A little bit more naive than us, sort of thing, because of just lack of worldly experience.
Yeah.
But she was still 3 years old.
Yeah, well, I do find it hard to believe that a person could reach physical and emotional... Well, animals reach physical... So, emotional maturity, I'll say.
Acceptable.
Yeah,
intellectual maturity. How they managed to get that going?
Well, I don't know how you even define that, but okay.
Able to, potentially get yourself into an undergrad program somewhere.
So, before... You can't be in a relationship unless you can get into college?
I'm saying that's it's a nice equal benchmark sort of thing. Maybe not equal, but a nice comparison sort of thing.
Well, I mean, if we're talking academia, there's the whole example of it's sort of unethical to sleep with your students kind of thing because there's a power dynamic.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, absent a power dynamic, so we're just talking a difference in ages. I'm not sure if there's... I mean,
I always found it to be a little weird that she was 3 years old and he was.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be weird. It's Star Trek.
Yeah, but the thing is, it seemed weird to me until I realized that's about the same quality of age difference between them as Spock's parents were.
Oh, I see. Like percentage-wise or whatever?
Well, it's the thing. It's like, well, we'll say 30 years instead of for like 40 for Spock's mom. If he's 30 years, to Sarah sort of thing, that would be the equivalent.
He might be 10 times her age.
Yeah, if he's about 300 years old there, sort of thing, that's 10 times. That's about the same as 3 and 30, or the difference between
well, I don't think maturity works on that sort of logarithmic scale that way. I think maturity...
But it is a huge age discrepancy, and that happens to be by like an order of magnitude.
It's big, yeah.
Yeah, it's big, sort of thing. It's... And there are times like if you were like going out with someone who is 9 years younger than you, that could be really a big difference depending on when you are. If you're in your 40s and she's in her 30s, well, not too bad. But if you're like ending off your 20s and she's just getting out of the teens, it's a little skeezy.
A little. I mean, it's happened before in different ages, and we seem to have been more okay with it. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's for different reasons. The
concept of emotional maturity and informed consent laws have much more been codified lately than they have historically been.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's the thing. From my ultimate litmus test, like informed consent, like everyone on all the Star Trek, like relationships, they all pass that litmus test. So I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, even though it seems weird that Kes is only 3 years old and Neelix was going out with her, sort of thing, like they're a couple. Say, well, you know what? She's like intelligent. She's able to like form proper basis of opinions, and she can learn, at the same rate as any like adult elsewhere on the ship. So fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
But it does seem like really big discrepancy, because I mean, like, and that's not the only time you see this sort of thing going on too.
Okay.
You look over into D&D with the fantasy stuff. Elves live to be 700 years old in most editions. They're like a 4th edition, I think, is only supposed to be something like 300, 400 years. For some reason, it's shorter there. But in most editions, elves live to be about 700 years. Humans live to be getting close to 100. So there's a 7 times age discrepancy. And an elf starts off, like if you're rolling for your random like starting age sort of thing. In most editions, an elf will start off at about 100 years old. Yep. So even what's considered to be a young elf is still a lot older than pretty much any human you're going to have in the party.
Yeah.
And yet that's never really mentioned as to like what the heck that's about, sort of thing.
I think it's occasionally mentioned like in novelizations and stuff. But I guess in the rule books it doesn't seem to come up too often. The fluff
stuff does have some things mentioned in there about how it's different. Because apparently the age difference does not work out perfectly, sort of thing. Like elves don't like. How long should a kid be in diapers, Josh?
A human child?
Yeah, a human child.
Up until they're 3, 2.5.
Let's grant this on the high side. Well, 3 to 5. Some kids have a hard time learning. We'll say 5, okay? For the absolute utmost, before things start getting like you gotta start teaching them.
Yeah.
So if you go 5, sort of thing, and then multiply that by 7 to get the elfin term. So if an elf is still wearing diapers at age 35, well, maybe you should start, like really getting going on that sort of thing. So it's not like they mature at that same rate at just 1/7 the speed.
Well, your point is that maybe an elf would be in diapers until age 5, but there's then other aspects of them that are not considered. For some reason, they're not considered by other elves to be mature until they're 100 years, but that's not the same thing exactly as a person or human being mature, I should say.
Yeah, so like elves wind up, getting out of, like the toddler years at about the same sort of rate as humans, or at least much closer to the human range, as opposed to the 1/7 factor.
Yeah.
So they just wind up having like a much longer, I guess, teen age.
Well, can I just tell you, like, sort of my headcanon?
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
I've always sort of thought that elves physically were smaller for longer. So basically they grow at a very much decreased rate of humans. So like a 50-year-old elf would be the height of a 10-year-old human, basically. So and maybe for elves...
They truly are slower species.
Yeah, and there's no real... Like humans have this period of time that we call puberty where a lot of things all happen at once, and you grow really fast, and like a lot of stuff happens. Whereas
for the elf, it seems to happen like that, but it's really spread out 7 times as long.
Yeah, roughly, or even.
Oh, that's tragic. Because if you can start growing facial hair at like 13, but it doesn't really come in good till 20, that's 7 years. Elves have to spend 49 years, like wondering about like whatever little like hair that grows on them, and like this armpit hair is all like stubbly. It's not going to grow up proper.
Well, again, headcanon wise, an elf at 100 years to me probably doesn't have much in the way of facial hair, even without shaving.
D&D elves don't have any facial hair.
I think
really.
They're often described as not having. Sometimes in the artwork they'll have like a fancy mustache or something.
I'm pretty sure that's just a plaster-on thing that they do on their own. They kind of like the style,
Yeah. Headcanon wise, elves can speak around the same time, like 2 to 5. They learn how to speak pretty much grown-up language.
Well, what if the elven language does take longer to learn?
Okay, well, another 3 more years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds about right.
But actually, because humans can pick up the elven language.
It has been said in a lot of stuff that they pick up, the broad strokes of it, but it takes a true elf to sing an elven song, and that even the best human bard just kind of mangles it. Not badly, but mangles it,
Well, maybe I'll go with that. Although, just my understanding of language is that it should be learnable.
Well, that's the thing is, like with my own daughter sort of thing, like she learned how to speak around age 2, but it's only within the last couple of months I've really seen the nuances of how she speaks come about. And how her turn of phrase is just so much more natural and smooth, that she's truly getting more than just the words.
Yeah, and that's not just the fact that it's like she's learning language, like as in like an adult would pick up a new language. It's like her actual structure of her brain is changing.
Yes, yes, there is that, admittedly, too.
I think that's what I do
get a kick out of Elven Progress, though, like maturing at 1/7 the rate. So while we had our 70s, while we were all doing our big afros and our
our 1970s.
The 1970s. Okay. Yeah, we're all doing the 1970s style, for clothing and fashion and music. Elves had that one for 70 years. 70 years of funk and soul music being produced before they finally got going on their equivalent of the 80s.
Okay, yeah.
And I do kind of dig the societal progress going at 1/7 the speed as well, because that does allow elves to have much more back history and why aren't they flying around in spaceships right now? So, well, they don't mature at the same rate, even societally as well as physically. But it's never really mentioned in any of the core books. It's mentioned bits in here for fluff. The only thing I think I've really mentioned for the age difference in like a core book is with the dwarves, where they have a bit about the difference between a comrade and a friend is 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're slow to make friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that by the end of your human lifetime, you might be considered a friend to a dwarf. And they might translate that friendship down to your kids, because they've seen you that kid grow up the entire time. But for most of it, you'll just be a comrade, same as a work buddy you have where you're working, right? So it's not really mentioned there, and I find that one to be very interesting. That they don't have a basic line of what the age difference means, and how elves even interpret human things. It's oh, what do you know? You're only 60 years old. How much could you have learned? Yeah, wise man. Yeah, we got kids just leaving elven puberty older than that. Come on, wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get again add on to that the sort of medieval level of the fact that even humans would never leave their own, never go beyond about 3 miles, 20 miles of their own hometown. So elves maybe even shrink that to a forest grove.
That doesn't get multiplied by 7, right?
Well,
140 miles.
No, I would divide it even.
Yeah, maybe more of the Sylvan elves, I could see that one, but that's just the same for anybody going out and about in the wild. You got to go with the animal sort of thing. So if you're much more wilderness-based elf, then I could see that going completely out the window. You're the same as any other, nomadic sort of culture.
Could be. Yeah, I think how I would interpret it though is that like an elven village would be even more secluded because they'd often be kind of hidden. The way we think of sort of like
the elven village
hobbits.
thing, you know, like up in the trees, hidden perfectly from nature, where you can't even see it, even when the humans are walking like right by the trees.
Yeah, exactly. And the elves rarely venture out; they just sort of stay very much inside their own town. That's why they're not like worldly the way humans often are, and humans are able to learn more things because they get out.
Unless you are taking something off of like the Tolkien-style elves, in which case, yeah, they have all the knowledge. They've always had all the knowledge, and they just never bothered to part it with you guys because, like, dude, you are humanity. Like, ugh, you are just a bunch of warm crud. It just keeps bubbling over. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tolkien's elves are a different thing than D&D elves, so I guess we
Although the D&D elf is heavily based off of... Right,
I guess we're talking in very general terms. Also, like, the D&D role-playing games themselves are designed to be grafted onto whatever game world you happen to have. So a lot of DMs will just have, my elves are immortal. My elves are actually the same as humans. My elves are the 500 years, or,
And that's the thing, though, there's
on
never any, like, a thing really mentioned, like how do you deal with that, role-playing or otherwise, for, like, this huge age discrepancy?
Yeah, well, I've given a couple of ideas that I personally just feel like I would run with in my campaign. But like, do we have advice, or is there any?
There
do we
hasn't
have
been
guidelines?
anything put out in the core books.
Yeah. Well, what is your guideline for like how to deal with that?
Focus on the Fey aspect of the elves. Why are they 100 years old and not any wiser than this like 16-year-old human? Well, they're Fey. I mean, they just spent like the last 80 years like gallivanting out and about in the woods, playing around with like the animals.
Mm-hmm. And they tend to be forgetful, or is there that aspect to it?
Because they have so much time. There's no pressure to learn anything. Like, why am I going to be working like stink? At this like a secret world Halloween stuff? Because it goes away in a couple weeks. I don't have forever to do this. Mm-hmm. Like when I've got a little downtime, I'm looking up on the forums, like, okay, what's the event going on for 2016 this year? What's going on? I was in Tokyo thing, and I was encountering werewolves. What's up with the werewolves there? Sort of thing. And like, I got a limited time. I got to get this right. I got to get this done now. So it's the shorter life of humans and their knowledge of the shorter life that makes sure that like they have the like, I got to get this done. I got to do something with my life, as opposed to the elves like, I'll get it done next century.
Okay.
Unless it's like knocking down their doorstep like a whole bunch of kobolds, it's really not a pressing issue. And it does even say that in a few of the editions for elves. They take the long view. They don't seem concerned about like kobolds setting up, like a kobold warns an area. They'll be gone in about 100 years anyways.
I was trying to say something like that when you said like, oh, why don't they go and attack Maleficent? And I was like, well, she'll, there's no point really.
Maleficent actually at one point, just before she turns into a dragon, spoiler alert, it's a 16 thing. It says, now you face, like the full force of hell before she turns into a dragon. So she is potentially immortal. Because, the skin tone kind of indicates she ain't fully human anyways. And then,
what color skin does she have?
She got the green skin going on.
Oh, green skin. Oh, she might be some kind of hag or
witch,
ogre.
Yeah, I've got a thing with the Disney Lego stuff here, and she is, actually it's kind of I'll say it's a pale blue, right? I guess the tint is a little off on my copy of Sleeping Beauty. But can I get your verification on that? At least according to Lego Disney.
Oh, yeah.
She's a pale blue. Green she is face. Definitely not in the human range of colors.
That's interesting. The Wicked Witch of the East?
And West.
The one that Dorothy actually spills water on.
That's the West. The East one got, house crushed.
She got crushed, so we didn't see her face.
No.
So the one we saw, whose face we did see, actually did have a green face.
Yes.
Also, so there's something about witches and green faces.
Witches and hags, and like where you want to cut the line on them, tends to be fairly personal.
Just a weird tangent, but you know how like ogres and trolls, and giants for that matter, when you see like the female versions of them, they seem to be kind of these ugly. They
seem ugly to you. I'm sure there's at least enough, ogres and trolls and giants that seem okay with them.
Yeah, but it seems like maybe it's possible that like a female ogre could be like very beautiful and just like large, tall, maybe tall and skinny.
I have seen stuff like that, which is all right, provided the male retains some sort of equivalency. If the female looks attractive to us, the male should look attractive to us too. Unless
is that the case though? Like, 'cause
otherwise,
animals,
it's just kind of weird fetishism. I find, it's just like, oh yes, and then the lady of that just happens to be a really tall, gorgeous lady. And it's like, well, then by what means are they like anything different than us other than size?
I guess because humans are drawn to the human figure. But in the animal kingdom, humans are actually, have very little sexual dimorphism.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're actually, our male and female, probably another species probably couldn't tell the men and the women apart.
To be honest, I am a biologist. I have a hard time telling a female chimp from a male chimp.
Yeah.
So it's not just...
Yeah, chimps are in a similar family.
You go over to lions, all male, female, female. Yeah, it's only when you get down to cubs I got a hard time with that.
Yeah.
And that's the way with a lot of the other stuff too. Like female, like hyenas, you can tell which one they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're the aggressive ones with their pseudopenis doing crazy things. It is a messed up species. Be careful if you Google them up. But in a lot of species, yes, you can tell the difference between male and female a lot more readily than in I guess, humanity relatively.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. It's like if you have like a troll species where like the troll looks Cro-Magnon-esque, why is the female going to look like Raquel Welch from 1 million BC?
I guess, why
larger.
would they look specifically like something that modern humans are attracted to?
Why would the female look so human when the male looks so unhuman?
Yeah. But I could imagine that the female being very different looking from the male. Like,
oh yeah, I can dig that for a lot of species.
You
just have to be careful with it, otherwise it does kind of smack of like but the female, she looks exactly like a regular attractive human female.
Yeah, I get that because we're looking through our own human cultural lens.
Yeah. Maybe it winds up being there's something about like the presence of facial warts on a troll that looks, oh man, if you see the wart on her, that looks so hot. But only to other, members of the species.
Yeah.
So, I
think Star Trek sometimes plays a little bit with that.
You could have some fun with that and have, I guess what's the female term, ogress? Be cursed by, her fairy ogre, sort of thing, to be ugly and ugly, horrible and ugly, and she just winds up looking like a human.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. And so, yeah, she just happens to I'm so ugly, and it turns out it's got an ugly duckling story going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll buy that at least every once in a while as a good comedy routine.
All right, okay. Well, that was a tangent. Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry. I think it's a good tangent. But yeah, you've got these cases in both sci-fi and fantasy where there is sometimes a difference in 100 years or so of age and different.
Okay.
You can even work it with novels. Don't always appreciate bringing this one up, but a very good example of that one would be the Twilight series of books, where Edward is 100 and something years old, 107 years old, I think it was said.
I don't remember. I did read the book.
He is over 100 years old, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she's going to high school, so she's 16 there.
Yeah.
And it's the only explanation given for why that's not creepy as all hell is because apparently when you get vampirized, you kind of mentally stick at that age, which would be a nice blessing, honestly. Because think about
mentally stick at 19.
Yeah, if you're 19 when you get bit and you stick at that, it kind of sucks for the 65-year-old who gets bit. I'll be 65 mentally for the rest of my life.
Well, what does it mean to be mentally 19 though?
You do all the stupid things that 19-year-olds
You're stupid?
do.
So low intelligence?
Not low intelligence, but I'll say...
Low wisdom.
Yeah, low wisdom.
So you're stuck with a low wisdom. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. Because, that's the thing. Think back to when you were 19. Was everything you did pretty smart? You were technically an adult, legally an adult at that point in age.
Yeah, I did a few dumb things. But
man, oh man, if it wasn't for my, rule against time traveling before 2012, I would give myself such a crack upside the back of the head.
The only reason I don't
cheese-eating noob, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, the only reason I don't do the same things that I did when I was 19 is because I have experience and memories, which is why I'm finding it hard to get around this thing where you're saying, "Oh, he's mentally 19." Well,
I don't say it's a
kind of memory,
good excuse. I am saying at least they gave an excuse.
Okay, it's something, yeah. But
it's better than just like, oh yeah, I'm 107 years old, but look at me, I look 19. Because once you factor in the mental like experience in there, yeah, things go back to just as weird as ever.
So it would have to be some kind of like inhibit, like a.
You hit a kind of like a fugue state for your memories.
Like, you know how people get brain damage and they lose the ability to. Well, we have blocks to stop us from saying things or doing inhibitions, I guess. And then sometimes you can get brain damage and you just blurt out whatever you don't think. And you just talk, or you don't think and you just do, or you punch people. Like this is real.
It happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are people with this afflicted with this condition.
Afflicted is maybe the best term for it too. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that maybe vampirism might actually have a similar effect in that it's not keeping you immature, but it is removing some ability of yourself to block.
Or maybe you just have a hard time like forming new memories sort of thing. Like, I won't lie, occasionally when someone pops up on Facebook and I'm like, apparently I went to high school with that person, yet I have exactly zero memories off the top of my head as to who the hell this person is. So it's just like, I kind of imagine vampirism being the same sort of thing, man. If that happened like 20 years ago, like... But then I got no clue. Unless you tried to stake me, I'm not going to remember you at all.
What I find like the lead on or the follow on, the consequence of that though is that it's not actually that much. It's not a relief, or it's not any better. The fact that he's mentally 19, so it's okay. Well, he's mentally 19. That's basically saying he's mentally retarded. Or he's a mentally retarded 107-year-old. He has a brain disorder.
That's all it is. He's not retarded by any stretch, but he does have a brain disorder involving the memory and ability to learn.
And that somehow makes it okay for him to hook up with a 16-year-old.
When the difference of mentalities ain't that far off, I'm okay with it. Like, I'll buy it in that regard, but it's just like, no.
See, like...
If it wasn't for the fact that he's staying, like, physically the same age, too, I'd have a lot harder time to buy it.
Staying... physically, okay, like so in his body.
If he had, like, if he was just, like, a regular guy who had suffered, like, some mental trauma at age 19, and thus was never going to, like, be able to form new memories properly, or, mentally mature past what 19 was for him... And he was like 100 years old, and he wants to start dating a 16-year-old. That's just as bad as ever. So like there is some like the supernatural, like at least he looks the part, helping him out in this one. I will grant that one. I will say that right out. I'm willing to buy it a little easier if at least he's going to look the part.
Okay.
Because when I first heard the whole bit like Team Edward versus Team Jacob stuff is like, I really want to hear their defense for why it's okay to date like 100-year-old person, and I really want to see if they date one of Grandpa's friends. I really wish I could have asked that question back when that really mattered for a lot of people.
Well, I mean, my only I'm kind of I think I'm more okay with that May-December relationship. I think I'm generally in favor. I'm saying people can do what they want. 16 might be a bit young. It does break
the half your age plus 7 rule. But,
Yeah, I don't really... I mean, okay.
It's a half your age plus 7 breaks down after a while. Because, I mean, if you're 40 sort of thing... Yeah. And then, is it okay to win? Oh, no, you can't do that. She's still, 6 months too young for you. It's like, oh, come on.
And I guess what it is it's a rule of thumb, and I think
it does help at the younger ages more than anything else. You base number 14... And then you start figuring out when does it feel like skeezy. So if you're 20 years old, then you don't date anyone who's 16. You got to date 17-year-olds or older. Well, okay, I guess that's a good rule. Yeah, there.
Yeah, but okay. So my only objection to these May-December relationships is just the fact that it's probably not going to last long because the guy we've done it almost I think entirely exclusively. Men being older, women younger. I think we haven't brought up a single example of an old woman and a young man.
Once Bitten, the Jim Carrey comedy with vampires in it.
Okay, there.
The vampiress needed to suck the blood of a virgin sort of thing, and she, like, had her standards. She was not going to be, like, working with anybody prepubescent. Mm-hmm. So I will grant her some very big props on that, because when it comes to retaining your youth after a couple hundred years, especially in the time and the place where she was, sort of thing, like finding someone who is sexually mature and like a virgin, sort of thing. Like, she was having a very narrow range of people to look for in this case. She had to do bites on the thigh too, so it was really sexual innuendo going on.
Yeah. There. In a vampire movie. Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's a Jim Carrey movie. I think I don't know how many Jim Carrey movies you've seen that have big sexual innuendo in there.
There's always some, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this was the big thing. So I grant her big props, but that's one where she was much older than he was in that case.
Okay, so there's one example.
But
Good.
she was really like a predatory. Like, she was, the big thing was like using him, and in the end he would become a vampire too. She was going to get him like a big fancy coffin. He was going to get like a much more exalted status than the other like servitor vampires she'd had over the years. Because as she explains to one of the other ones, like, listen, I bet you 100 years ago, finding a 17-year-old virgin in 1880 was not a hard task. Finding it in 1980 is very difficult.
Okay.
So, especially in the Los Angeles region, sort of thing, apparently. So that's how the story goes. So there is an example, but I think the better known examples, for some reason, do involve older males and younger ladies.
Yeah. Okay.
For whatever reason. I say younger, but from our perspective, like if Spock's mom was 30 at the time, like, would we really call her the young lady in this case?
30 is, I have to say, 30 is young, being 34 now. So.
Well, that's the thing, is it's not young, but it's not old.
Yeah.
Right?
But did I get to my point that the old guy, like in our human examples, if you're 70, 80 years old, you're probably going to die soon. So that relationship is not,
long-term viable, like you are long-term viable.
So you're not talking about, living a happy life together. It's talking about, having a good...
someone's living a happy life, but the other person's got to live a long time after that.
I mean, and it's sort of in favor of these relationships, the man gets another, happy 10 years with a nice young wife, and then she gets his money. So.
Aha, there we go. There's another older female example. Lord of the Rings. Aragorn and Arwen. Oh, good. Yes, I like that.
Because
the big issue that Dad raised for that whole thing was like, dude, he is going to die. Like, it's going to seem like tomorrow for you. He's going to be dead, and then you are going to have to live a very long, mournful widow's life.
It's like a little kid saying, "I'm going to marry my puppy."
Well, you know what? That's a very good perspective for an aging difference, because we, like, dogs age 7 times faster than us.
Yeah.
Which is the same rate apparently that elves age. Like for us to them. So like, we are the dog to their humans.
Maybe.
Sort of thing. So if you want to see what it'd be like, like living with someone that ages much faster and will die much sooner. Yeah, like a cat or dog house pet is not a bad equivalency on that one.
Yeah.
And like you may get on, you may have like other pets after that pet passes away, but you'll always be sad, man. You'll always kind of miss that one.
Yeah, but is that the eternal question in sort of the token, what he's posing in his themes is that true love for that fleeting moment? Is it worth it, even though it was just a moment? And you can say yes, sure. Well, I'd say it would be, but.
Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Yeah. Is that Shakespeare, or who is that?
Technically, I was quoting, what's his face, the comedian, Martin Short.
Martin Short, but I'm sure he was quoting something.
Well, that's the thing. His variation was better to have loved a short than never to have loved at all.
Oh.
So I just went back to the class one. But that's who I always remember saying it. And whenever I say it, I kind of like try and mimic his intonations and style. But I think it may have been Shakespeare in that case.
It sounds Shakespeare, although it doesn't sound like there's no thee and thou in there. But
you don't need it. I mean, better thee had loved and lost than never thee had loved thine at all. Though. No. Sometimes you want to keep it short and sweet. Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is like this is like a huge thing in a lot of areas. So this is not like just an isolated example here or there. This is a common trope.
Yeah, in
least
sci-fi fantasy, in our speculative realm, yes.
Supernatural and sci-fi stuff applies as well. Like I'm going to grant Edward even more leniency because like if you are thinking from his perspective, like I can only date people around my same age group. That is, as time goes on, an ever more increasingly small pool of people to date from. Like, vampires are technically immortal, but they'll wind up getting staked and killed through other means eventually. Mm-hmm. So that pool is always going to be increasingly diminished as time goes on. So after a certain point in time, you just got to say, like, dude, I have dated everybody I can find in my age range. It didn't work out. Maybe I should start considering, just dating people.
Well,
and to hell with age.
I suppose if I was Edward and if I hadn't already met Bella, and I guess we're assuming that he's fallen in love, and so once that's happened, there's no turning back because obviously he's in love now. So he's got to,
and it's true love.
Follow his heart.
With Bella,
right? He does fall in love, right? I think
as much as of any vampire can love.
Yeah, I think so. But if I was him before that, I wouldn't hang around in high school.
How much do you love your sandwich? Yeah, because don't forget, she's also technically a food source.
Food item. Well, I mean, being a vampire is problematic that way because your food item is also a potential lover, just no matter what you do. So.
Yeah. Anne Rice really covered ground on that one. So if you want to look up that sort of aspect, boy, we can recommend pretty much anything she's got for that angle.
Wait, what was I saying? Oh, but if I was Edward Cullen, I would probably just up 2 or 3 more years so that it's technically legal, and just go to a college. I'm a college student, and maybe I look like I'm 16, but sometimes college students look like they're 16.
I got baby face. It happens. Come
on. Would that make it hard? I think he'd be. I mean, he's got vampire powers. He'd be able to find dates. I mean, I know some guys are like, oh, I look too young to find a date in college.
I do believe there was a thing I remember reading about that where they referenced his perfect face, the phrase perfect face in the first novel 50-something times.
Yeah.
So, I think he can get a date, even if he's looking a little young. Because he's got a perfect face in addition to other features.
Yeah. So that would be my advice to Edward Cullen. Just once you hit age... I don't even know if it's 18 or 19 or whatever. But go to college.
Yeah, go to the college crowd. And they might be a little bit more open as to your weird idiosyncratic lifestyle. It's part of the discovering yourself phase. Everyone's discovering themselves. He just happens to drink blood.
Mm-hmm. Although I think it was important that Bella Swan. Yeah. It was important that
Call her glove. That's basically what she is. You as the reader are just supposed to wear her. She is you, sort of thing. They could have done it from a first-person perspective.
Well, one of the important aspects of her was that she was an innocent, and she didn't know not just about vampires, but also about kind of the world.
So, in that case, the once bitten sort of thing, it's really a matter of finding the one rather than just finding anyone that fits the bill.
Yeah, because maybe he never would have found Bella if he had, hung around
for
at college
sure to get
somewhere.
To college sort of thing. She would have lost her innocence somewhere in the 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah.
She had issues. I could see her. Yeah.
And there's probably something in the backstory that later novels they probably added history to sort of bring them together somehow. It
was cosmic.
Yeah. So they like to do that, and when they do expanded universes, they'd be like, so their parents actually moved there because of this and that, and then that, and then she's actually, I think it turns out she has some kind of vampire blood or something too.
I think she winds up becoming a vampire.
But she becomes a vampire, but I think she has some kind of, that's what makes her attractive to, she has an interesting smell to the vampires, because she has some kind of history.
Yeah, try not sounding like a redneck, crazy person. Oh, you sure do smell nice. I want to make you my bride. You smell so darn pretty.
Yeah, I mean, mainly it's the accent, I think.
Yeah.
You smell so nice. Italian. That was my Italian accent, by the way.
Yeah,
or whatever it was. It's Spanish? I don't know.
It still doesn't work too well. It's, yes, that is the perfect way to decide who should become
I'm
your
sure there's a
forever.
Certain English accent that you could probably, if you're Hugh Grant, for example.
Yeah, but he's got that dorky
I
angle
can't do it,
to
Hugh
him.
Grant.
What if we reverse it around? What if we go with like his former wife-to-be, Elizabeth Hurley? If she was to come up and say, "You smell nice, I must make you my husband." That'd still seem a little weird, wouldn't it? Like, it's Elizabeth Hurley, so it's like, oh, that's very flattering, but still kind of weird.
You can tell somebody they smell nice on the third, even second, or even first date if it's going well.
Complimenting a first date, and it's like, wow, that's a very interesting, like a fragrance you've got on.
Oh,
Can I inquire?
That you in your nerdy way, yeah, okay, well.
What's the thing? Because I mean, like every fragrance that you spray on is supposed to interact with your own personal, like body aroma to create a unique scent.
Yes, I'm sure that. Well, I mean, you've conquered your conquest, so you don't have to worry about it at this point. But I don't think your approach is, sexy. But
well, okay, you could phrase, but I'm gonna say it's like a very enchanting fragrance you're wearing. Can I inquire? What?
Can I? May I inquire, Madame? Where you get that?
Well, for some
fragrance?
Some people, it's a very big secret. They don't like giving that stuff away because they have the fear, like, oh, once somebody finds out what perfume or cologne I'm wearing, anybody could be as sexy as I am right now. I can't let anyone know my secret.
Okay, so here's my.
Gentlemen, by the way, I have no fear.
I'll tell you my approach. You smell nice.
No, you're not going to open it up for further conversation.
No.
You're not even going to
I'm not. These are the extremes. You smell so nice, and then you smell rather interesting. I wonder if you put on some particular chemicals this morning.
Well, no. Here's the thing. Like you could use that as a way to open up. Is like you smell nice. Is that what's a perfume ladies wear?
I wouldn't go even that
far.
No,
not that one sort of thing. I'm just thinking you smell like, is that like Chanel? Is that Chanel? Or something? Well, you're not going to open it up for at least some date time conversation.
I wouldn't ask, is that Chanel? I mean, I don't have moves either, but it just seems, yeah.
Well, that sounds like perfectly good conversational stuff,
Is the lady wearing Chanel tonight?
Well, I mean, heck, we've all been hit by the blast of cologne in the supermarket, or not supermarkets, but in the the big stores, at least at some point. So I think you walk by those aisles and that stuff will hit you in the nostrils pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So you got to pick up something off of that, So at least try and pay attention to the smell and see if you can't get anything discerning out there.
Yeah. Although if you're a vampire, you're probably you smell bloody.
You smell so enchanting. What is that? A positive.
That was a weird tangent also.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So yes, we have kind of gone a little over our regular mark then, again.
Yeah, as we do.
Do we have any final thoughts on this age discrepancy thing?
Yeah, well, again, my only line, because this is crazy fantasy, this is a world where anything can happen.
You've got Vulcans, you've got vampires, you've got... What was the race for Kess again? Compans?
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
you got it.
I am rather impressed with myself off that one. Wow, my goodness. And you got all elves for the fantasy stuff, the Tolkien immortal elves versus your D&D's.
You have
only 700
Q
elves.
continuum people. Didn't a female Q fall in love with Riker at some point?
Everyone fell in love with Riker at some point.
Yeah, so there's
Let's
another...
all be honest here. I'm pretty sure the regular Q was a little bit in love with Riker at some point. Man, everyone falls for Riker. He's Riker. That's his thing.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's another counterexample of the older woman with the younger male. Although it's a smaller category.
I gotta admit, that's the thing though. It's like for all the other examples where we've shown an older woman with a younger man, and I put myself in the younger man's shoes, I have never felt as intimidated with the prospect of romancing a Q. Because I mean, my goodness, that is an intimidating sort of thing. I mean, there's just how do you even try, and romance at that angle? Because I mean, as Q once said to Janeway, foreplay can take decades. I don't know if I have faith in my game, but I'm not in that league. I'm playing T-ball, man. This is big league with Qs. It's like, oof.
So yeah, even with all these options out there, my basic rules are consent. And
informed consent.
Well, okay, yeah, we're adding a few things. Consent, a certain level of maturity with the ability to consent, which in humans, is the late teens, maybe 20, age 20, or at least like you should be, because teens can do it with each other. They can fall in love with each other, and that's fine. So I'm
gonna knock away that maturity thing at least at some point, because I've seen a couple of immature people throughout my years actually have kids.
Okay.
And like have a relationship that wound up lasting out of, or at least has lasted so far out of that.
So it's a fuzzy guideline, but I'm going to say something like maturity. Something I haven't quite defined it. I kind of know it when I see it, but I'm going to require that. And this is in a fantasy world where like animals can talk, and like an animal might have a human soul, or a person might change into an animal. So
yeah, I won't lie. My informed consent law gets really weird when you put Scooby-Doo into your equations.
Yeah. So there's number one, and then these are not in order or anything, but
separate but equal
power relationship, it's not cool to
if you're like a regular like down to here on Earth sort of thing, and the like long-lived alien has spacefaring technology, that's a heck of a discrepancy. Because you're gonna like, dude, I can't pass up going throughout space. So I'm just gonna have to, like kind of buckle down a little bit and go with the spacefaring, like awesome person.
Yeah, maybe. Although, like, I have, like,
what are you gonna do? Marry them and get the spaceship in the divorce?
When I said power, I was thinking of in terms of the human hierarchy. Like, you can't be with your boss or something like that, or somebody
shouldn't be with. Your boss.
Somebody has to transfer department or something. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be.
Technically, you shouldn't even be with your coworkers. But I've seen that one broken enough times, and everyone was quite happy and all right with it. That is really a soft guideline in and of itself.
Another fuzzy guideline. But yeah, generally, like, you can't be sleeping with your interns or something like that. So that's a no-no. If you are that interested in an intern and you have enough money, maybe, I don't want to say fire them, but transfer them to a different job and keep them as a girlfriend.
Prevent the conflict of interest from occurring.
Something like that. So let me see. But yeah, this thing about like being an alien with like immense amount of ability and technology, I think that's kind of okay. That's a little bit like being like a billionaire and being able to, like, if you're a billionaire, like you can have
kind of like a Pretty Woman scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. A billionaire and a prostitute, or somebody on the street, or somebody, a young
who's
college
not of
student,
the same
whatever.
social hierarchy level.
So, like, I don't have an objection to that. Like, I can't say, billionaires aren't allowed to love.
It's just a red flag. You just got to be careful.
I guess. Well, it's an orange flag or whatever the danger flag is. I don't. Is a red flag just? What is a red flag? Does a red flag mean stop for sure?
Well, it depends on what you're doing the red flag for. If it's like a red flag being thrown in like sports, as opposed to like a red flag of just like a warning, like there might be a mine here, or a red flag is in like.
In soccer, a red flag means the gameplay stops.
Yeah.
And somebody is. Like,
I don't know which red flag sort of thing is supposed to refer to, so I just assume red flag of like, hey, like watch out, like roads might be out ahead, like washout sort of thing, like what they do back in the day, like same as like. Which is why a road flare is red. I assume before they had flares, it's just like a red flag. You just kind of wave it to warn people. Yeah,
and in Formula 1 and stuff, a red flag probably means everybody has to stop and like pull off the track or something like that, right?
Yeah.
If you see that red flag, it's like, okay.
Too many accidents, we gotta get the pace car out.
Race is over, or race is
called
stopped for now. I think a yellow flag means you go at like a slow speed around another lap or something like that until it's cleared or whatever. Different colored flags mean different things.
It's sadly varied. I just always assumed it meant like it's a warning sort of thing.
Okay, so it's a warning.
It's not like a red light. It's just a red flag.
It's not an absolute no-go, but I was saying, like,
tread carefully.
Like, what if, in the scenario where you're the only alien, you're a godlike alien, but there's only one of you, and you happen to stumble across Earth, like you're stuck in the solar system.
Ancient Earth sort of thing. You're in like Mesopotamia, Egypt.
And you meet like a nice young girl, like I guess if you're a male alien.
I think for movies, Road to El Dorado works good as an example on this one.
Okay.
with the two guys that wind up being revered as gods, and then you've got what's her face, Chell, the lady about town.
Okay, yeah.
She winds up having a relationship with one of them, so it's like romancing God.
So yeah.
Weird, yeah.
So like I don't want to confine the super powerful alien to.
You can't date anyone because you know what? No one's on your level.
Yeah, like Superman. Like who is Superman supposed to date?
Lois Lane.
Lois, obviously.
And that's the thing. That's where it boils down to me, and that's what ultimately made the decision, because that occurred to me in my head. In the end, I'm going to have to say age is just a number sort of thing. After a certain point,
finally got to that, yeah.
Once you get the informed consent stuff going on there, age is just a number. So long as you have similar interests and passions, go for it, sort of thing. That's going to be my ultimate two criteria. It might get a little awkward, sort of thing, like the 107-year-old with the 16-year-old or the 3-year-old with Neelix. But you know what? As long as you can pass those two bars, you know what? I'll grant it, and anything else that's lingering behind is my issue to work with.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because really, like a lot of times with Lois Lane throughout the silver and gold age sort of thing, it was kind of like trying to seduce God for a lot of stuff. Why did she go for him and not Clark Kent? And that's why I do like the more post-crisis 1984 universe. It wasn't really about her falling for Superman. She actually fell for Clark Kent, and then just wound up I like Clark Kent. He's a great guy. Superman's a pretty awesome dude too. They both have great points, and then it just happens. Oh, it's the same person. Awesome. I only have to marry one person.
Yeah.
So boy, that saved her a real nasty situation.
Yeah, I won't pretend that we've solved all of the issues, but I suppose we've got some guidelines.
Well, you look at them for the similar passions and interests. Their news hounding story, go getting I need to investigate this. I think that cements them better than the fact that he saves her every third issue.
Yeah, common interests. That's important.
Because that's the thing. Like Lois Lane and Clark Kent, I can see them being a better match. Sitting down and chatting things out and really working it together. Than what does she have to talk about with Superman? I saw you flying in the sky today. Oh yeah, saved another half block of people. Oh, that's nice. But them.
They could watch Netflix together.
Oh, there's always that now that Netflix is a thing. Yes. But if you're going to be in a good relationship, especially a stable one, you got to have something you can at least communicate with. Tell your passions out to somebody. Because if you've got that significant other and you can't tell your passions to them, your interests to them, really, what's up with that, man? How good is that going to wind up being? So in that case, if you're godlike alien, if he's got an interest in, we'll say the insects of Earth, as he's here, and he happens to find someone else who's also interested in insects, well, you know what? There's a shared interest and passion going on there. Yeah, that's great. If it blooms into romance, so be it. If it's just a friendship, hey, that's awesome too. And so that's going to have to be mine. Everything else is just it's my issue to work out. Even if it's dude, she's only 3 years old. But she's an adult. Okay, fair enough.
But, yeah, it's a fantasy world, so, yeah, we're granting a few things
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen the Ocampan education system. Oh, my God, it would explain why they weren't able to do that much with their civilization, why they were effectively stuck in a stasis being supported by the caretaker, is because they just, their lifespan had been shortened down, and thus they weren't able to accumulate enough knowledge to create the innovation required to progress their society. But I don't believe that was ever officially stated or covered. I'd have to watch the first season all over again.
There's the artificial intelligence in there's a few different examples, but Ex Machina, you probably didn't see it, but the guy builds a robot, and she's basically got a human ability to understand things, but she's only 1 year old. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing different with robots too, because if they can compile information at a much quicker rate, then the age difference sort of goes weird too that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it's just not how old you are, but how many run cycles you've completed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another. Well, that could lead us down a whole other road.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to call that quits here. We've hit the 2 hour mark.
Oh yeah.
So how can people quickly get a hold of us? If they got another option for like an older female, younger male that really works out for like an age discrepancy sort of thing, let us know. How can you know? How can we know?
Send us an email, thesimulationist@gmail.com. Comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thesimulationist. You can like us, excuse me, subscribe on iTunes and write reviews for us if you feel like doing that. Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/thesimulationist. And, of course, support us on Patreon. We would totally appreciate any money. We have 0 patrons right now. I would like to get that number up to 1. That's my goal for the next month.
Figure this. If we get 1 patron in this stuff, that means we have increased the number of patrons in an infinity percentage.
By infinity percent, yeah.
So, like, here's the thing, Josh. If you can increase the number of patrons by infinity percent, well, that's amazing.
I'm putting that on my resume.
Yeah. Yeah, math. Does you good.
Yeah, but of course, more than your dollars could ever help us is the thing that would help us even more than that would be word of mouth, telling friends, and typing us out on internet forums that you happen to be a regular member of.
Yeah, if you were a Team Jacob fan and you really want to stick it to your friend who's like a Team Edward fan, like send us to them, sort of thing, man. Just let them know why you found that age discrepancy to be so weird, even if you're able to buy the supernatural elements of the whole thing.
Yeah. Did we come to a verdict? I was like saying
Edward is the easiest one to accept because of the supernatural aspects, and then there's at least, like, hey, he stays mentally 19 from terms of maturity. Well, okay, like, I don't need to know like what that encompasses, but it's easier to swallow.
Okay, so we're allowing the Edward and Bella relationship.
It still seems weird that he could have gone to school with her grandmother as well. Possibly great-grandmother.
Yeah, but then he is a vampire, so weirdness is part of the deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness that comes with it. I mean, heck, we could even pin that one for a topic for next week. It's just like the like what it means to be living such a long life compared to other people, and what that perspective does to you, just how weird things wind up being. And
if I remember correctly, the Cullens don't actually vampirize on people. They vampirize animals.
Yeah. That one seems weird, especially when you look at the erotic subtext of drinking blood. And then like, oh, don't worry, I only drink animal blood. It's like, you freak!
Well, I only eat animals, and I never eat humans, so...
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like when you have an erotic subtext of the blood drinking, such as vampires do, like I drink the blood of the beautiful young ladies is my preference. It's kind of like, oh, I'm a womanizer. Oh, I only drink cow blood. You freak. You ew. Oh. I can't believe I shared a coffin with
Vampires
you. Vampires
are indeed freaks. Did I get to all the... Yeah, I think I hit all the bases. Tell a friend. If you're already part of a nerd forum or not... I use the word nerd too much. But if you're part of like a group online who likes to discuss comic books or
a nerd
games
herd. Or whatever your nerd herd is, man.
If you have your favorite forum, whether it's something like Reddit or old like Realms of Evil or something like that.
It's a defunct website these days.
But Realms of Evil, but you know what I mean. Like if you're part of one of those communities, maybe take a moment at some point and just share it with all those other people because they might also enjoy.
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah, I think that's all.
I think that's everything.
Okay.
Long story short, like you just got to find someone who matches your interests. Sometimes, like if it's weird because of other issues, it's weird because of other issues, whatever.
Oh, I didn't give our Patreon is patreon.com/thesimulationist.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and you'll see the last 4 or 5 episodes, but that's
this is 215. Don't worry, you can find the other ones there. You can find the first 210 elsewhere. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, take care out there. You'll hear from us again in about another week.
I've been Josh Trilla.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Send Patreons.